My wife walked in one years ago when the kids were small, when we were splitting everything, and she said, I'm going on strike. I said, what? And she said, I'm just not going to cook for a while. I said, OK, and I thought she meant a week or a month.
45 years later.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I don't mind. It takes me 20 minutes to drive in from where I live. There's about 16 traffic lights I have to get through. And this is number 15 on the list. 26% of people cheer when they have this. Being late, but hitting every green light. I remember when I was at school in the 1960s, two of my fellow pupils, I went to school in the East End of London, used to bring in salt and pepper sandwiches because that's all their families could afford to give them. They couldn't afford school dinners. They weren't free. So they brought salt and pepper sandwiches in. They were very, very malnourished. Now, that was 40, 50 years ago.
Oh, a 5 to 7.
Number 11, an attractive stranger smiling at me.
Very nice. Yeah, OK.
There we are.
More and more children, and this is a statistical fact, are either skipping meals completely at school because their parents can't afford to either give them food or pay for food at school, or they're eating very, very sparingly or rubbish like a salt and pepper sandwich. How have we got to that in 2025?
Oh, I mean, I know.
What I can do is confirm what the Prime Minister will be going into these discussions with. We know that the President cares very deeply about ending the war in Ukraine. That is a good thing to have a President that's so engaged in it.
Nick, I guess the phrase dying to see a dentist in your case was like the literal truth. I mean, you very nearly croaked. Thank you for yours, and do wish the Prime Minister, if you speak to him, the very best of luck from us, because he's going to need it.
I will, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you. And as I said in the introduction, you still can't get to see a goddamn dentist. When Colin Rosey hit really hard times, he found himself sleeping rough on the streets. But he's now managed to turn his life completely around, and he's running an extremely successful business. And it's all thanks to a top hat. I was just going to say, all of us who have children and who've had young children, we all know that cliff edge that they go over when they get hungry. It happens really quickly. You know, 1 minute they're fine, they're full of beans, they're paying attention, and the next, and you know, oh, they're hungry. If there's one person that will never be homeless in this town, it's me.
Yeah.
And then it was
absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
So what happened then? Things went wrong.
1 minute you've got a kid who's paying attention, and the next, because they've not eaten, they've gone. You've lost them. I was saying earlier, over 50 years ago, when I was at school in the East End of London, there were some kids who came in with salt and pepper sandwiches. That's all that the parents could afford to give them to eat. And it had a real impact on them. And that was over 50 years ago. I would never have predicted that in 2025 we'd be having to have this conversation. What are we going to do?
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.